We don't look at depth anymore, we look at width. Now come on up closer. I am the safety trainer today, and I also own a small tree care company down in Baldwin County.
I'm familiar with it. Tell us about what this is all about today.
What we're providing today is a hands-on portion of our chainsaw safety, which involves some history, ergonomics, starting, safe operation, and then some basic tree felling, what we're doing here. After we fell the tree, we're going to have hands-on with the participants so that they can practice limbing and bucking and also receive constructive criticism and correction of how they're operating the chainsaw. Today we have the City of Brewton and the City of Flomaton, and I'm going to say there's 3 or 4 different departments involved if I remember correctly. Now that gives me a visual reference of where okay, so I just started to come out on this side over here, but I did not come around enough. So what I'm going to do is actually stick my saw back in to my cut and then look at it. So what I am, I'm this far away from my notch. Do I need to take out more wood? That looks like it's it. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to set my hinge wood. All this is getting cut anyway, so even if I had an opening from here to here, as long as I don't compromise my hinge wood, it just doesn't matter. That bore cut is a hard one. You see how I had to start over and it ended up with actually taking out that much wood? So now I'm in line with it. So what I'm going to do, because I am going to exit this way or escape this way, what I'm going to do is cut more wood. I'm going to leave a strap of wood over here on this side of the tree, about 10% of thickness. That way I have everything set up where the tree's ready to go. So all I have to do is cut that little bit of wood to create a little bypass cut here. And then as soon as the tree starts to move, I'm going on out. Whereas if let's pretend this tree's not here. If I'm standing here like this cutting in and I want to get to my hinge wood, the proper thickness, this tree's going to start moving as I'm cutting into my hinge wood. So as this tree moves, remember our 5-15-90, within 5 feet of the trunk for 15 seconds is 90% of our struck bites. This one we never use for filling because as we're driving it in, it can spit it back out. If it spits it out, we can get a setback on the tree and possibly even a backfall on it. So we want to make sure that we use the right one. We never use metal because if the chain hits metal, what can happen? Sorry? It could. It could. Could it take and cause it to kick back on us possibly? Because metal cutting metal doesn't work very good with chainsaw chain.
I hit on the head. Oh, that's gonna be me.
Maybe a little bit short.
I'm right there.
Operation of chainsaws is a higher risk, and so to mitigate some of that risk, if we teach our folks proper operation of chainsaws, how to reduce the probability of kickback and rollover on top of them, and struck bys, it's going to be safer for them to be out in the middle of the night clearing a fallen tree from the roadway.
How many accidents are involving chainsaws in the general public each year?
Last study that was done, I believe, was 89, and it was averaging about 40,000 a year for the general population.
That's too many.
Absolutely it is. And 35% of those incidents, or more than 35% of those incidents, occurred to the back of the left hand or the front of the left leg. And two simple ways to avoid those injuries is to keep two hands on the chainsaw at all times, and then wear either cut-resistant chaps or pants. And as long as you keep contact with it. 4 fingers over, rotate it back, and then our wrist roll and our leg roll, okay? So when we reach across with 4 fingers, it keeps us from getting pinched. If I try to keep one finger on here and kind of circle the handle, when I'm pulling back, you can see how I can't disengage it? Or even worse, I see people do their pinky like that. You're not going to disengage it. Now if you have smaller hands, you can hook your thumb and come to the side of the handle over here and disengage it, because it's a little bit further reach to come over the top. But make sure that when you're disengaging your chain brake, your hand is at the rear of the rear handle. You're not on the interlock, and especially not on the throttle. Because if you're sitting here holding this saw and you go and disengage the brake and you have a high idle or a wide open idle or a throttle on it, you disengage it, it can possibly cut you, or if you come in contact, it can take and kick it on you. Okay, so demonstrate the chain brake for me, please. Yes, sir. During the limbing and bucking process, we're going to make sure that they're able to understand the difference between compression and tension wood to take and prevent them from being struck by loaded limbs or limbs under tension, to be able to prevent their saw from becoming pinched, and also to recognize limbs under load so that the tree doesn't roll over on top of them and create an entrapment issue. The bucking phase is going to be very similar to that, where we're going to be cutting the tree in such a way that it doesn't roll on us, and attempt to prevent pinching as much as we can, because once the saw becomes pinched, we're either going to have to go get another saw or have a piece of equipment move the log in order to free that saw that's pinched.